During the summer of 1986, the Cleveland Cavaliers made a series of moves that would shape the team for the next decade. The organization entered the '86 draft without a coach, general manager, or director of player personnel. However, by mid-July, several pieces were in place to take the Cavs from average at best to legitimate championship contender.
We had several people that were involved, of course, and none of them knew very much, well, almost none of them knew very much about basketball, but we had a pretty good sense about how important a first round and a first pick overall is in the NBA draft, and we knew where we had to start, which was in the middle. We were able to secure the rights to the first round draft pick and drafted Brad, and in the same draft, Ron Harper, Mark Price, and Johnny Newman. At the same time, we brought in Wayne Embry as the GM, somebody who'd been there and done it and who had great experience, and Lenny Wilkins as the head coach, and we also got Hot Rod Williams. So I guess if you want to put a period together in Cavs history, there's nothing like it.
We drafted well in '86, in Doherty and Price and Johnny Newman and Ron Harper. That was a good solid nucleus to go with Phil Hubbard, who was the backbone of that team.
He had these young guys coming in with talent, you know, and it was a changing of the guards, and you know, just to hang around, and they had a lot of talent. You could see things were going to start picking up, and things started picking up, and we started, you know, making the playoff regularly, and that was like a regular ticket for us. You know, we knew we were going to be playing at the end of the year.
It was an infusion of a lot of talent all at once, and it was exciting because I think even though we didn't make the playoffs that very first year those guys came in, the very next year we started beating teams like Boston coming in here, which was exciting because they would just, you know, kill us before, and you know, particularly during the regular season, and when those guys came, you know, after they got that year under their belt, we started beating them pretty handily here in Cleveland.
When we traded for Larry Nance, he brought an element to this team that we didn't have because we were young. And Larry brought not only his talent, but his character. And Larry had the ability to mobilize the rest of the players and make them, as he was, a consummate pro.
This team really got along well. I mean, me and Hot Rod's best friends, me and Brad talked about racing, Mark and I were kidding, and Craig and Mark. I mean, we just all got along so well, and we've done a lot of things away from the court. I mean, we visited each other's homes and put the kids together. The wives went out to dinners. I mean, so this team was just the closest team I've ever been involved with.
Doherty moves into the lane, back out to Price, the three in the air. Go!
We all came from similar basketball backgrounds in that, you know, a lot of us played in the ACC and just, so we were familiar with each other, but the bottom line is we had a lot of unselfish guys. I mean, no guy was going out there looking, I mean, Brad might get 25 one night, the next night Larry might. I mean, I might be the big scorer the following night. We really didn't get a sense that guys cared. I mean, we wanted to win games, and I think that's what the bond was. You get a group of guys that really want to win, and a lot of the other stuff gets put on the periphery.
Price right of the circle, spins into the lane, gives to Wheelo under the basket, scoops to Doherty, and Brad hammers it home.
We had a great team unity while I was there in Cleveland for 10 years. I was able to play with some great people, but I think the one main cog is Wayne Embry. He really went out of his way to make sure there was a team and a family atmosphere and a family chemistry, and it made it enjoyable to play in that environment. He worked really hard at making sure we were all on the same page, so I think team chemistry and family is what I think of when I think of Cleveland.
Taken back by Danny Ferry behind the back to Nance, who slams it to the right hand.
Well, the real leader of that team, which is I think the best way to be, is the team was the leader. And along with that, the thing that really drove the commitment and the concentration that was brought to the game every day was the mutual respect that those guys had for each other as players and as people. I think that was really important. That was a group that didn't want to let down each other. And there was not one guy that screamed or hollered or did any of that. But, you know, Mark Price wanted to be there for Larry Nance. Larry Nance wanted to be there for Hot Rod.
We had a great bunch of guys. You know, we had a bunch of guys who knew how to play. We were well coached. Everybody could shoot the ball, handle the ball. It was really a fun team to play on. It was a great way for me to kind of get initiated into the NBA, and I was lucky because there are a lot of teams that don't get along so well. But we had a great time together. We played well together, and like I said, it was a great group.
So the talent was truly phenomenal, and when I think back, I know that we should have won the championship that year, you know, if not for Mike, his heroics that he did, you know, year after year. The talent that we had here was truly exceptional, you know, 1 through 5 positions. You know, Mark, Larry, Hot Rod, Brad, you know, those guys, Craig, Gerald Wilkins, you know, the name goes on and on. So there was definitely a lot of talent here, and my first year here, I definitely knew that we were going to win a ring, you know, going against Chicago right there in the finals, but, you know, they got the best of us.
And puts it up. It belongs to Hot Rod in the final game of this.
I guess that one game, Game 5 against Chicago, where the last 6 seconds, you know, really, you know, jet propelled them into what they've done the last few years.
Elo into Nance. Back to Elo. He drives. He scores! Elo drove it right down the wing and scores! He looks. He looks. He looks. He gives to Jordan. Jordan to the circle. Puts the shot in the air. Good! The game's over, and the Bulls have won.
Welcome to the Coliseum for Game 7, the Eastern Conference semifinals.
I think the ultimate for most of us is the 7th game in the Boston series when we were able to beat Boston and Larry Bird and McHale and Parrish and those guys to get by them in the playoffs to get to the Eastern Finals to play the Bulls. I think that for the first time that we had a group of guys that believed they had a chance to win a world championship, and when you could have in the reign of a championship caliber team, really Larry Bird's last game. It was a situation, I think, that allowed the players in the franchise to belong. It was an elite team, an elite franchise that could compete against the teams that would play for championships, which we ultimately did.
The afternoon that we played the Boston Celtics in the 7th game of the series for the conference, to advance the conference championship. And it wasn't so much the game, but it was the electricity in the Coliseum that afternoon. 45 minutes before the game, you could barely hear yourself talk. And, you know, I think that was just something that the fans enjoyed. And of course, part of the reason we do this is for our fans.
Kerr, center floor, shoots, good! Steve Kerr just buried it from the center line.
When we played the Bulls in the conference finals in '92, and the memory of losing the series is not what I choose to think of, but the crowd was just unbelievable. It was the loudest crowd that I had ever heard up to that point in my career, and the city was rocking. Everybody was going crazy, and it was just a great year for us, even though we fell just a little short. It was really exciting.
I think our team in Chicago definitely met at a crossroad, and whoever won that series was going to be the chance for the next 3 or 4 years, and we was every bit as good as Chicago. I just think their thing was they stayed healthy, and we did.
Back to Nance, right side jump shot, good. Larry Nance.
I don't think it was ever to a point that we didn't ever step out there and think that we couldn't win the game. I mean, obviously, we never were able to overcome Michael Jordan, but as I've told many people, nobody else did either. And so many of those games came down to the wire, and I mean, it wasn't like we were getting blown out in those games. I mean, we were taking them, you know, to 6, 7, you know, game series, and I mean, it was, you know, they had to earn it to win it, and you know, it was exciting playing against obviously the best player that ever played the game, and just to be in that position and to be a part of that excitement was something that I'll never forget.
Price out front, chased by Armstrong, drops it off to Doherty, drives with the right hand.
We really caught it at a tough time. Michael really came into the prime of his game. He started to peak in his game, and he took the Chicago Bulls to the next level, and we just were never able to compete with Michael. we felt on any given day, day in and day out, we could beat the Bulls. We had a very special basketball team, and because we played so well with what we had, the expectations were extremely high.